Hi, my name is Daniel Kazort. I'm a senior at Sam Houston State University, and I had the opportunity to interview Daniel Salaya. He is executive director at Emerge Art and Advocacy Projects, and they are about to have a grand opening February 28th at Be Free Gallery, and it is on the corner of Avenue J and 12th Street. It's actually where the Greyhound bus station is, if anyone's familiar with that. Anyway, without further ado, Daniel. All right, so Daniel, if you could just give us an introduction of who you are and if you like a little backstory of your life.
My name is Daniel Salaya. I'm an artist, I'm an activist, and I'm a community builder. I served nearly 20 years in TDCJ, and I just released 11 months ago. I am now executive director of a nonprofit called Emerge Art and Advocacy Projects, where we promote and represent incarcerated and formerly incarcerated artists, now moving into the broader outsider art space. And I'm also an activist in social and criminal justice reform.
Okay. So what got you interested in that sort of art collective? And
I grew up a street artist. I hopped off the porch. I was young, got in the streets about 10 years old, and I started tagging or doing graffiti at a very young age, and that's where my love for art came about, and it never stopped after that. I've been painting and drawing for as long as I can remember, and that was always my escape in life. Being that I came from a marginalized community or an economically disadvantaged community.
Right.
Been doing it my whole life.
Yeah, it's a great outlet. So the kind of demographic that y'all have, it's some of the artists are incarcerated.
Yes.
And some of them are even in solitary confinement.
Yes.
So who are other kinds of people that contribute to it besides incarcerated?
As far as incarcerated, 95% of the artists that we represent and promote, they're incarcerated.
Okay.
Some of them are in SEG, some of them are in general population.
And what is
some
SEG?
of them, SEG is basically a flowery name for solitary confinement.
Okay.
Now they call it restrictive housing, but other than that, I mean, when you just take it all down, it's solitary
So
confinement.
you alone in a padded room.
It's a concrete box.
Yeah.
And I spent most of my time, I did 8.5 years in SEG, and I spent most of my time on a maximum security unit, the Coalfield unit.
Good Lord, man. So a lot of people feel kind of isolated and disconnected and just kind of frustrated with their lives and like worried about stresses in their lives and stuff. And kind of the intertwining of like what you dealt with and the outlet that you had under your circumstances. How do you think it would kind of meld with the community, people that might be kind of feeling the same way a little?
So at the end of 2013, at the time I was an active gang member, and there was a huge gang riot. Some things happened. I ended up getting assaulted myself and stabbed 7 times and beat with a fan motor and a sock. I ended up getting shipped a fan motor with a sock inside of a sock.
A fan motor, like a blade,
We disassembled our fans, extract the motor, put it in the sock, and we swing it around like barbaric style.
Man, that's.
So in that year, they shipped me to Coalfield. I was which is a maximum security, the belly of the beast, the biggest and worst maximum security in the state. I walked around in the population for about 9 more months, and then finally another gang riot took place and some assaults occurred, and they confirmed me and considered me a SCG, security threat group. So once I got SEG, my whole identity was stripped from me. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
Like everything
you lose all connection with,
with yourself.
Just, like talking to people at the cafeteria.
It's not even that, because you're thinking you're this person for such a long time, and in the end you realize, because you do a lot of introspection, and you start to realize that's not even who I really was the whole time. And that's where I started going through that soul search. So the awakening was when I almost lost my life in the gang riot. But it didn't really take effect or come to clarity. I wasn't able to discern it until I became saved. And I had to find myself all over again. And that's when art took on a whole different meaning in my life. I started painting, I started drawing, because it got to the point where if I didn't paint or draw, I just didn't want to wake up anymore. Yeah. So it saved my life. And I would take hours a day just focusing on something. I would focus on this section, take some time off, focus on another section. I would take months sometimes to do something, because you want to just focus, and it's to escape. Some people in there, especially in that type of solitary condition, some people are gonna paint or draw or however you create, right?
Start fights, or
you could definitely do that. But once you're at the bottom of the barrel like that, you really get tired of it. You don't even want to live like that anymore. So this is how I focus on myself and getting through it, as far as therapeutic and meditation through art. Mm-hmm. About a year later, I was getting some privileges back to where I was able to go to the rec yard with other solitary confinement inmates. Okay. And we would all be in our separate little cages, but I was able to talk to other inmates. Well, I met some artists. I befriended some artists.
Play like Foursquare or something?
We're all in separate cages, but we're able to talk to each other. So we might play a game of horse. So I would shoot a ball, and he would be in that little cage, and I'd be like, okay, you have to shoot it from there. We might play a game of horse. We might work out together. Hey, you do 10 push-ups, I do two push-ups, you know?
Yeah, no.
And I befriended some artists. You know? I befriended the artists, and one of the main ones that I started was Mike Mendoza, and he's got a life sentence. And he had about 30 pieces just sitting in his cell. So one day I said, look.
Was he in SEG as well?
He was in SEG as well. And we just befriended each other on the rec yard. And I told him, I said, look, I've been having my mother and my aunt sell some of my pieces on the streets in Dallas and San Angelo, where I was born, and on social media. Would you like to join me? Would you like for me to try to sell some of your art? Yeah. He's like, might as well, because he didn't have any type of support. He didn't have any type of support, so this is what he had. Yeah. This is what got him by, maybe mentally and emotionally, but it's what got him by
30 paintings
financially, as far as the prison system and commissary food to eat. Yeah. That's how we eat in there. And we started off with his 30 pieces. A couple of other artists wanted to join, and they contributed a few pieces. I put in about 10 more pieces. Nice. And we took to the streets. I had my mother and my aunt take to the streets. I mean, it was my idea, but they were the muscle for it. I could have never have done it without them. Yeah. And we built up this network. We started getting noticed on the streets of Dallas. And a man by Richard Miles, of Miles of Freedom, he owns a nonprofit organization. He noticed that it was prison art. And he's the one that actually opened the doors for us and provided us with this platform to, how can I say it, a more collector-worthy audience.
Yeah, it's like, this is where your audience is,
right.
I'll show you.
And we started having shows at the Arts District in Dallas, at the Wells Center. We started having galas at the Arts Mansion in the Arts District in Dallas, and we started just building this huge network.
And Deep Ellum?
That's around that area. That is also another arts district, but we built this extensive network up to where finally entered Murray Smither. And we met Murray Smither through Richard Miles of Freedom, and one of his executives.
Okay.
Well, Murray Smither was the one that changed the whole game for me. He took me in. He mentored me. He was so piqued. His interest was so piqued how this guy from solitary confinement prison and a maximum security prison was dealing artwork, and he wanted to help me deal the artwork.
Yeah.
So he started putting his best efforts in, and next thing you know, we're collaborating with him at every show. He's curating for us. He's judging our shows.
Yeah,
We start meeting
great.
other noteworthy artists like Bill Haveron, and they start speaking up, and it was pretty much it was a done deal from there on. From there on out, I built this network, and they were all willing and ready to embrace me the day that I was going to be released from prison. Whenever that day was, we weren't going to ever know because of the time I was in SEG, and they normally don't allow inmates in SEG to parole. And because I was considered a STG at the time, I was there indefinitely until my expiration date, which would have been 2031 at the time.
Oh my goodness.
And I had also caught some stack time when I was doing some gangbanging, so you know, it's never good when you're living that type of lifestyle. And I had to learn, and I learned through art, and I learned just through my mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
In 2019, I decided it was time. I had matured enough. I grew enough. I was more enthused or motivated by what I had going on out here, because now I had people helping me. I had Murray Smith. I had Bill Haveron. I wanted to leave that. I was ready to finally just
momentum behind it.
Right. Well, I was just ready to just finally leave that lifestyle behind me, because there's nothing good that comes out of it. So in 2019, a lot of times in my past paintings that I no longer have, they've sold, but I had a lot of pain or remorse in them, and I would paint what I saw in life. Chalk people strewn out on the chalk lines with exhibit numbers by them, and just anything that I used to see, and I grew up seeing them, things I would see in prison.
Yeah, I mean, and so there's definitely kind of shadowy, darker backlight to this art because of the situation there.
Of course.
And so for SEG, you guys would have to make all your own brushes and paints and.
In SEG, because we have very limited access to our own supplies, and the only way you're gonna get any type of art supplies in SEG is if you know somebody that works in the craft shop or is in the craft shop, which is another inmate, and that inmate has to somehow work back there in SEG. Maybe he's pushing the broom, an SSI, which is an inmate janitor, and that's what he does for his job, but he gets access to the craft shop, or maybe somebody that works in the kitchen that delivers food to the SEG inmates, because they pop a stop and they feed you through a little hole, and they push your tray through there. They're inmates, so they all come back to their work, and the inmates run the prison. So if you have access to guys like that, or maybe they know someone in the craft shop, you can be like, hey, man, let so-and-so know I need some graphites, I need some paints, I need some acrylics, I need some oils, I need some brushes.
Yeah.
And they can make it happen. But the thing about that is everything costs. So if nobody's gonna do nothing for free, and it's like, the hustle, and that's just the game.
Commissary for it.
You either gotta give your commissary. If you're ordering $25 worth of graphite, if you want a $25 graphite set, then you're gonna end up giving the guy
cigarettes.
Exactly. Well, you're gonna end up giving the guy 50 because he wants his too. So he wants to be able to order something too for himself, because he's an artist. He's in the craft shop.
Yeah, it's all.
And that's just the game. You know? I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the ends or the resources like that, then that's what you're stuck with. You're stuck with making your own tools, your own pigments and things like that. Yeah. Other types of supplies.
Man. Well, to change it up a bit, some questions from fans of art I got here. Do you want to choose one?
Let's try one. I got this one.
Okay.
Rebecca Sturgeon. I hope I said your name right. Could you gift an artist something, like something holistic, sage, gender, detox foot pads? You can definitely gift an artist, but there's obstacles to it, because if you're not on their visitation list, then you're not able to.
There's red tape.
Yes, there's a lot of red tape. You're not able to even place funds on their trust fund. So it's not like you can just order something and send it to them, because even when you do order from a vendor, it has to come straight from the vendor and go straight to the unit. And besides all that, you would have to be on the visitation list.
Okay, so it's this one's pretty much, it's talking about wine nights and like Okay, do they have wine nights while they paint? I've heard some people in prison will make wine in their toilets. Just curious. Could I send them my homemade wine?
We do make our own
Tiffany
wine in there, and we call it hooch. But as far as wine and paint nights, I think I had plenty of them myself. But sure, they have wine and paint nights, especially if you're an artist and you like to just let loose sometimes, or just take the edge off of life, because it can get very depressing in there and saddening. But I mean, that's our only escape sometimes, and maybe we shouldn't have to. How can I say, recourse to substances and things like that, but that's just what we do sometimes to survive. And it's a trap. So you do what you have to do to survive, and you hope you wake up the next day, or you want to wake up the next day.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Daniel to Daniel.
Yeah. All right.
So again, that is Be Free Gallery at the bus station. Grand opening to the public February 28th starting at 4 p.m. Brought to you by Emerge Arts and Advocacy Projects. Thank you for watching.